Hello and welcome to another episode of the World Class Real Estate Podcast. My name is Mark Worrall and I'm joined today by both Ian MacBeth and Sam Hunter. How are you, Sam? Let's go to you first.
Good morning, Mark. Hello, listeners. I'm really well. Thank you very much. Off the back of making you guys a bet that this season Chelsea are going to come seventh and Everton are getting relegated, I feel really good about myself. Thank you.
You look
Well, we
smiley.
weren't going to
You look
talk
happy
football.
about it.
Yeah. You should look happy about seventh too. Yeah.
Top four for us. That's what's happening this season. Top four in a cup.
Yeah, nice.
Or a
Good to
cup.
have the footy back. Something to start the episode with every week, hey? How good. 9 months of banter and Mark just pushing mute and leaving the room.
No, I'm constantly going to be saying, I thought we were going to discuss football this week. Life is very much a challenge as an Evertonian. And maybe it's a little bit like real estate that we start the season as we start the year a little bit slow and then speed up to a fantastic finish as Everton did last year.
Resilience training. Very good.
Yeah.
Who's had a manager like Sean Dyche in a state agency?
Get the job done.
Just, barky, morning meeting, like let's bark at people. Who's had one of those?
Yeah.
I think we probably all have. I'm sure people listening will have had a barky manager in the morning meeting at
Bit
some
gruff.
point. Yeah.
Never looks happy. The workplace environment is always efficient and not much else, I reckon.
Here's a
I wouldn't know
question
if it's
for you
efficient.
guys. Which Premier League football manager or which football manager in general would make the best estate agency branch manager, do you think, and why? That's one for people to listen and think about as well. I mean, the Pep's the easy one, right? Because he's meticulous and he's charismatic and stuff. But I don't know.
I don't
In
think that
estate
makes a
agency.
good estate agency manager, realistically. Again, I'd say he doesn't manage in the Premier League anymore. He's on a sabbatical before he takes over Germany. But Jurgen Klopp would run a good office.
Okay.
No, I couldn't get behind Klopp because I just hate him as much as I do in real life. Ever since he celebrated that Pickford mistake on the pitch like a 12-year-old boy. I don't know.
I think Klopp, the problem with estate agency, Klopp would be great in the meetings and great in the shareholder meetings, but with not really any trophies to show for it. Nothing significant. Bit
He's got
overhyped,
a
probably.
low conversion rate, not top of the board.
You're going to go Mourinho version one of Mourinho, full of charisma. The energy died out, didn't it, eventually? But whichever
Oh
Premier
yeah,
League manager you're going to pick is going to have full of energy most of the time.
I
I
was
like
definitely
that. That's a good question. Let's ponder that and come back to that because it requires more thought than just picking the managers of our football teams.
my
I'd be
style.
interested for anyone listening at home to leave a comment or send us privately so that we can then expressly make it public who you believe would be the best estate agency manager. But that, yeah, you're right, Ian. That's an interesting question, but not entirely. Hopefully, anyway, what this episode's all about.
Yeah, well, summer holidays. We've been away, Mark, and from what I could see, as soon as the summer holidays kicked in for the kids, all solicitors went on holiday. Like
Hmm.
out of office was just on everywhere for every solicitor. So hopefully they're all back now. And yeah, next week's obviously kids go back to school. September and October are always my two favourite months because you don't have the craziness of January with like test the market sort of listings. Although there's loads of listings going on in January, I just love September and October because it's serious sellers, it's serious buyers. People want to get deals done before Christmas. Some people
Hmm.
want to get moved before Christmas, which is really difficult, but that emotional kind of play works in the estate agent's favour to get the commission done before the end of the year. And everyone knows what they want, and everyone knows that there's not a lot of time to get it done. So I just love September and October. And a lot of it is the setup that you do, prior to that. But what would you say, kind of Mark, if I went to you, what would be the number two and number one tip that you would say people need to be doing in these next couple of days before the kind of second week of September when valuations typically should pick up across the country, across the world potentially if it's the same. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right in that we've got 13 weeks till December. Did you say today? Does that sound 13 weeks today, start of December?
13 weeks till the 1st of December.
So it's not a lot of time. That's the big thing to remember. And you talked there about we've got a few days now. So this will go out before the start of September, a few days before the kids go back to school. So I think there's a bit of preparation to be done there. And to 13 weeks, as you talked about focusing clients' minds, that should focus agents' minds as well. That there isn't a lot of time to be unproductive in there. And, if you've been on holiday, you've had that relax now, I think you've got to go at it hard, and you've got to make sure that you start today, not wait for the kids to go back on the 5th of September or what have you. The people that are really successful in both September or October will probably have already done a lot of the work by now, but will know, or will be finding out, the people that they need to ring to make those results happen, whether those are their hot buyers, whether those are the valuations that they've been to over the last few months who've been pondering. You're exactly right. The thing I love about September and October is the timescale of Christmas. It really focuses people's minds. So I think you've got to hit it hard, and you've got to do it now rather than wait. That would be my sort of biggest thing. Don't just wait. Well, the kids will come back. I won't pick that phone up today. It's got to happen now if you want to have those results. And that might sound fairly basic, but it's the type of thing that will make a big difference of having a successful, run to the end of the year.
I think that's the reminder, right? Like, we don't always need to learn and try new things. We just need to be reminded of basics. And if there's 13 weeks left, the good news is that's longer than 3 months. And like, lives and businesses can change in 3 months. Like, we've been talking about this for years, Mark, that what you do now banks in 90 days. And that's not necessarily financially banks, given delays, and solicitors probably aren't going to come back next week from holidays as well because they think it's God-given right to have an extra week off. Hello to all the solicitors that listen to this show. But if you got 3 months, it's like, okay, where are we this year versus where we wanted to be, right? We've said it before. There's plenty of real estate agents that are going to miss their goals. Listeners of this show don't necessarily have to be them. So where are you compared to where you wanted to be? If you're ahead, what do you do to stay ahead? If you're behind, what can you do to catch up? And if you're happy with where you are, probably just stay boringly consistent and keep that going. I talked about this last week. Like, we worked out that there's 3 things that we've got to do for our business to thrive. That's it. Anything else that we do is a test or wasting time. And I think if you look historically back at when real estate agents in the UK particularly make all their money, it's now. And you got a bit of that Indian summer. Everyone's got a tan. Everyone's happy. We're not like weary from the winter, right? Everyone's football team still has a chance to win the Prem or not get relegated. So the mood is better now than it is January to May. So this is that make hay while the sun is shining type mentality, and get it into Christmas. We used the sort of 13 weeks thing. Why that's top of mind is we had a conversation within our business where it's like, let's earn the right to have a really fun December. Not a lot happens in December, and we accept that. It is what it is. But we'd like to capitalize on that not a lot happening by spending more time with our friends and our family, and ideally with each other outside of that pressure, stress-filled work environment. But you've got to earn that right. So how often can we promise ourselves that we're going to do the 3 things that matter every day to get ourselves the 1st of December, where we look back at it as high fives all round, and we can go for a lunchtime beer and get a steak and leave work early and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. Earn the right. You might not need to have December off, but earn the right to make sure that you can enjoy your Christmas period. Ian, how do you think the shape of the economy might help agents, and how do you think we should be reacting to that to make sure that these next few months are, as productive as they possibly can be?
Well, I think the first thing that you can do is you can look at your own economy. So, we're hit the end of August now, and you can go, well, this is what we've banked or turned over, or if I'm an estate agent, my target is done. This is the 8 months. And because of the way estate agency works, we can look at our pipeline and pretty much forecast down to the pound where we're going to finish the year. In terms of the stuff that blows out, I normally find in that 4 months, the stuff that blows out, that if you take a complete pipeline and add it to your turnover, normally you'd find in the first 3 weeks of September, if you do well, you can replace that. So roughly at the moment, what your pipeline sits at is roughly what you're probably going to bank. And then if anything goes into next year that's in there at the moment, it will be replaced by the deals you do over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So roughly your own economy is pretty much written for you. Now you've got 2 or 3 weeks where you can have an impact on that, doing everything that you guys just spoke about, which stems from the energy and the atmosphere within your branch or in yourself. So I think that's the first place, is what's your own economy, because you can pretty much forecast the year out now. That's the thing which will scare the crap out of you or excite you, depending on how well you've done this year and how big your pipeline is, really. So that's exciting or motivating, whichever way around. And then from an economic point of view, all I can say is I went on holiday and I watched more valuations come in the middle of August than I've seen for months, for us. And what I could see is the agents that were really big on their content and their marketing and their paid stuff that was going on were attracting a lot of valuations. It was like a patch, like I have a visualization of the avocado map. It was like patchy hotspots. And me and Mike were trying to work out why the hotspots of valuations coming in. And you could just put it down to the people that were really big on their marketing at that moment in time. So I think, looking at it, people are ready and raring to go. And I think the headline 3% rates that are out there now, 3.79, 3.84, 3.95s, have drawn people from a buyer perspective out and given confidence to sellers to say, right, get the kids back to school, let's rock and roll. So I think September's going to be big if you're on it and you bring the principles of your business, like Sam said, the energy that you said, do the basics. That's the economy. Like, just worry about your own economy, I would say, rather than what else is going on your Sky Sports news alerts, really.
For sure. I wish we'd had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, because I think your comment there about kids being back at school and people wanting to make decisions, like there's a campaign in that, like selling while the kids are at school is what you want to put out the during those holidays while everyone's got time to sort of scroll Instagram and actually take notice of ads. Because, I mean, open homes aren't a massive thing in the UK. So the more weekday viewings you can do while your kids are at school rather than on holidays, I think would resonate with a lot of those people who are looking to trade up or trade out of an area into another one. And that they're messages that like work on a very short time period. Again, that back to basics thing is, what marketing do you need to do consistently? And you pick a message that suits that moment in time. Leverage it around rate activity, leverage it around life events and life activity and timing as well. It's not enough, I don't think, to put out messages that says you want to be in for Christmas, you got to do it now. That's, I think pretty obvious to a lot of people, particularly those people who bought once and are looking to trade up, which is where the fees are. For anyone who's listening to this, looking at how much money you can possibly make. So it's how do you understand that people are probably aware of, if they do want to do something before Christmas, they've got to go and do it now. How do you get them prepared, coming back to, pre-purchase surveys and all that stuff that we've spoken about on this show in the past? And what message can you put out in your marketplace ASAP to capitalize on what they're probably already thinking? And I think kids back to school, take a breath, sell your house, sell while the kids are at school. You could say 13 weeks till Christmas. Sort the presents in 6 weeks, sort your sale now, or whatever it might be, right? But you've got to be more specific and more targeted, I think, in that messaging to make the most of this next 3 months than just, if you're thinking about moving before Christmas, you've got to be on the market now. Next
year, there's a campaign, sell while the kids are off school and you're on holiday in your pool. Like, just leave the estate agent the key and let's just get cracking while you're on holiday. Like, that's the easiest week ever, isn't it? When you're on holiday, don't need to book viewings in, leave the house tidy, like just come and go and have a deal done, while you're in the pool. Yeah, I like that, Sam. That's going in Outlook as a reminder for me next year, July. It's going to pop up and be like, what the hell is that?
Just do it every holidays. It's the same campaign 4 times a year, right?
Yeah. It's good. I like it. Yeah, I think that's the key thing for me, is there's a good buzz in the air. There's a good buzz in the air with people I'm talking to. People feel happy about it. And I think for estate agents, it's being that news, just being that news. And whether that's just a WhatsApp, like you said, to people that you valued earlier in the year, some Easter valuations, if you pick them, for example, just a WhatsApp, You know, when we met in Easter, market was totally different. Rates were up at 5%. Some good news, buyer activity is strong at the moment. Have you had any thoughts about getting the house sold this year? Or are you still thinking next year? What's your plans? Like, just an open question with a little bit of seed set of confidence. That's marketing in its own right, just direct marketing. So I think with a bit of targeted logic over the next couple of days, I used to have this thing where we used to come back from like the holiday period when I was in office, and what we would try and do is, can you find a deal a day? And that might be that you've registered a buyer which is going to buy, like red hot buyer. There's a deal in there. You just see that buyer as a set of commission effectively at some point, but you look after that buyer if you're a negotiator, like a true VIP. In the same way, you might have a tout valuation that you just go, right, that they're motivated, that's got to come on. That comes on with us, we sell it. It's just gone stale with the old agent. Or a red hot valuation that you've gone out to and you convert it, over the other two agents, and you just know it's selling, it's next week's figures. If you can find one of those a day and put the energy into that, that's good estate agency over the next couple of weeks, is find that deal a day in whichever fashion it looks and be the point of difference. I think that's as simple as you can make your sort of daily tasks, really. It's just sniffing it out and doing right by that person rather than, for want of a better phrase, sort of pissing in the wind, with the old database or whatever it may be that sometimes we do, really.
I think that's probably one of the golden nuggets that we're going to unleash today for me there, Ian. And I think it's as Sam said, it's the boringly consistent stuff, but actually if you break it down to just a deal a day, it doesn't sound too over-facing. It sounds very achievable, but if you have that focus throughout September and October and you are really searching, like you say, for those tout valuations or keeping in contact with those super hot buyers, that is the very simple task done each and every day that will change your performance over the next few years. And I think, that's going to be one of my key takeaways from that. And I'm going to obviously go into our meeting this morning and share that with my team, because it's a real effective way to focus the mind. I think that's a really, really good way of looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you said earn December. I love the Joe Rogan thing, earn your sofa at the end of the day. And I think that's coming back to it now, is like, right, holiday season's out the way. I said to you guys, I've got a 2-day week this week, and I've got to earn my sofa every day. Like today, I know I've got to get some load done today. Like we are on it today. I'm pumped and charged, and I'm going to get back after a full day's work and probably do a little bit more, get the kids to bed, and make sure that when I sit down and we watch Celebrity Race Across the World at some point this evening around 8:30, that I have earned the right to put that program on. And I think people should feel that way, because then you feel like you've really achieved something strong that day, and that's what the next couple of weeks should be about.
That feeling is motivating, right? Like I'm a big believer in downtime and rest and all that sort of stuff. And whenever I don't give myself that opportunity, I get sick pretty quickly. But I also recognize that if you don't do the work for a couple of days in a row, you end up wallowing, and then it becomes very quickly a couple of weeks. And so if you can just keep that momentum going, there's little wins, earn the sofa. I really like that. I've never actually heard that before. I think that's really cool. But then you get up the next day and you're like, cool, let's have a day like that again, right? Because you've got momentum. It doesn't feel like there's a mountain to climb. Once you've got like that forward momentum, once you've started, it's easy to keep going. Starting is literally the hardest thing. And so if you're, again, coming back to how this year's gone, if you set yourself a big goal, as everybody does, coming into a new year, right? New year, new me, new business, massive targets. We're going to smash it. Things are going to change. And then you get to the summer holidays and it's bank holiday Monday at the end of August, and you're like, I didn't do any of the stuff. The last thing that you want to do is get real about that and start doing the things that you promised you do. The easiest thing to do is go, I'll do it next year. How good's next year going to be? I'll just continue to survive for the rest of this year. Treat the next 13 weeks as practice and see what happens, right? Take all the expectations of success away and just say, if I'm going to have the best year of my life next year, I may as well just practice that now and see what comes of it. because it'll make a material difference. You'll surprise yourself. And by the time that 1st of December rolls around, you'll be a different real estate agent and probably a different person.
I think also
the best time to have started all of this was, 6 months ago, start of the year, whatever. The second best time is today. We've got an opportunity to take action, and I really like that earn the sofa as well. Particularly if you are, everyone's on a shortened week this week, so everyone knows you've got to put 5 days into 4. In your case, you've got to put 5 into 2, Ian. But it is a fabulous way of focusing the mind, and then it avoids all that procrastination that Sam was talking about before.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to the team, doesn't it? Having a good team you've built a good culture, and your team are ready to really muck in and get cracking with it. And I think that's really important, because you can't do it on your own. Whether you're a negotiator listening to this that's 18 months in and you're looking around thinking, why is the energy not here like mine is? Or whether you're the owner of the business and you're looking around thinking, why is everyone still scrolling on their phone like, they're sat at the beach? It's bringing that energy to it. And whichever role you are in, you can still be that person that brings the vibe, brings the energy, brings it there, because it's infectious when you see it in its full flow, and it's making the decision to be that catalyst of it in the group, and sometimes that's starting with a bit of humor, getting the smiles on the faces, and just getting people ready to attack the day. And I think that's the key thing. That probably stems into recruitment, which is something that we spoke about off camera, about having a recruiter come on and really talking about that. Do you think, I'm just talking out loud now, but do you think the type of estate agent that you're recruiting for today is a very different personality trait, not necessarily on CV, but in interview, to what it was like 10 years ago? Or do you think really it's still the same? Do you think that's changed at all, guys? I don't know what your thoughts are.
It depends on the business. I'd say if you're looking at massive businesses with lots of very hierarchical structure, they probably are looking for the same person, which in their mind is an extrovert, go-getter, someone who's not scared to pick up the telephone, all that sort of stuff. I think if you look at the people who are successful self-employed agents, they are highly disciplined, empathetic individuals who recognize that this is a pretty emotional process, and they've got the emotional capacity, equilibrium to manage those other people along the way. They just happen to be selling houses, right? I don't think those people are what recruiters look for corporate estate agents. I think they look for people who are happy to get paid a low salary because they get a phone and a car, and they recognize that those people will probably all churn within 8 months, which is why they're great clients for recruiters. I think if you're a mid-level independent who's done really well, you're probably going to be looking for someone who could go out on their own and do their own thing, but needs the safety net, and you reward and pay them and look after them exceptionally well to keep them in the business. And that's a really good opportunity for a lot of people in real estate as well. And yeah, I think if you're going to go do it on your own, it's not the shiny shoe, typical salesman type that I think is doing exceptionally well. I think people see through that arrogance and they just move on to somebody who's going to connect with them better and they trust higher.
Yeah, from our perspective as a business, I think we probably, as we've become hopefully a little bit more mature, we've learned that actually the typical personality traits that we would have looked for 10 years ago, the energy side of things, certainly we work a lot on energy, particularly at recruitment. It's really important. But I think we've probably accepted that we need different people in different roles within the business. So whereas previously we might have taken a one-size-fits-all sort of approach and try and have the same sort of people recruited to do a similar sort of role, now we're probably a little bit more specialist. So we know that the personality traits that we're looking for one role within the business are very different from the other. I think what is different in recruitment now is, certainly from our side of things, the skills that you're looking for are, again, depending on the role, but less important because we've got a view that we can train those skills, depending on obviously the level of the role. But I think personality trait, personally for us as a business, we're probably more aware that we need different personality traits for different positions within the business.
Yeah, that A and B personality, especially in well, in anything really, whether it's your marketing team, whether it's your manager and your assistant manager, that A and B, I just swear by that. I'm sure that's like a Alex Ferguson thing in his book or something like that, but just swear by that, because having the ability of in your team knowing you've got someone that on Thursday when it's a poor week can get into the office and just find you business, just like yes, and then whatever shit trail comes from it afterwards, whatever they've done to kind of create that bit of business, you've got someone else in the office that's super organized that can knit it all together, mop it up if you like. And having those two personalities is really, really important. So I think that's the key takeaway from today's episodes. Do the basics, bring the energy, and just don't forget that your year is pretty much, it's not finished, but your year and your economy can be written by what happens over the coming weeks. And as Sam says, 13 days till December, which is
13 days?
Scary. 13 weeks, sorry.
I don't know what supplements you're taking, Ian.
I've got 13 working
days, mate. I'm worried. Yeah. For sure. Just like it's a sprint, if you want to call it that. I don't know. I don't really necessarily like the idea of it being a sprint, but it's just what can you commit to for 13 weeks and stick to it, and you'll be wowed by the change. Most of it probably exceptionally positive.
Bring the energy and get that deal a day. And hopefully we've managed to provide some energy this morning, or whenever you're listening to this. It doesn't have to be this morning, but whenever you're listening to it. As you know, we do this because we love our industry. We want to see it improve and get better. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please share it out on social media. Reach out to one of us. Let us know who your ideal branch manager in terms of Premier League manager would be. I'm Mark
Worrall. Or past.
Yeah, current or past. Jose version 1 for me, probably. I'm Mark Worrall. He's Ian MacBeth. He's Sam Hunter. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.